Not for everyone's bottom line. We picture World War II as good versus evil, America saving the world from the Nazis. But while America prepared to fight Hitler, some of its biggest companies were helping him. For some, the only color that mattered was green, money. Boardroom choices had devastating consequences. The truth always comes out. And this truth? It's a bombshell. Picture Germany in the early 1930s, a nation in economic ruin. Hyperinflation, mass unemployment, and political chaos. Enter Hitler, promising jobs and national pride. But the Nazi Party was broke. This is where Wall Street comes in. American banks and corporations, desperate for new markets after the Great Depression, saw opportunity in Germany. They saw a government willing to crush unions and keep labor cheap. To some investors, that sounded like a great business environment. So, the money started to flow. Major American banks, like Union Banking Corporation, with Prescott Bush on its board, helped finance German companies and the Nazi system. These weren't small loans. They were the financial lifeblood that allowed the Nazis to consolidate power. Wall Street saw Hitler's regime as a guarantee of stability for their investments. It's just business, they said. But this business was rearming a regime with clear, violent ambitions. They weren't just investing in factories, they were investing in the infrastructure of a future war, a war that would cost millions of lives, including American ones. The profits blinded them to the consequences. You can't run a modern war without oil. Germany had little natural oil, but needed it for its blitzkrieg strategy. Enter Standard Oil, run by the Rockefellers. They became the unofficial gas station for the Third Reich. Standard Oil didn't just sell oil, they helped the Nazis develop synthetic fuel technology, letting Germany turn coal into high-grade aviation fuel. This technology powered the Luftwaffe and Panzer divisions. Even after war broke out, Standard Oil tried to keep supplying the Nazis, running tankers through blockades. Their loyalty was to contracts, not countries. An American company was helping America's future enemy prepare for war. They knew what the fuel was for, Messerschmitts and Panzers, not school buses. Yet, the deals continued, and profits rolled in. When the US entered the war, American soldiers faced an enemy powered by American corporate ingenuity. The cynicism was staggering. The bottom line always came first. The Nazi war machine needed vehicles, trucks, engines, and more. Who were the masters of mass production? American car companies, Ford and General Motors. Both had massive German subsidiaries, Ford, Werke, and Opel. When Hitler came to power, business boomed. These factories became vital to German rearmament. Henry Ford, a known anti-Semite, was honored by Hitler for his services. Ford Werke supplied military trucks for the Wehrmacht, trucks that invaded Poland, France, and the Soviet Union. GM's Opel built the Blitz truck, the workhorse of the German army, and engines for Luftwaffe bombers. American-owned factories were building the tools of invasion. Profits flowed back to Detroit. Both Ford and GM's German operations used slave labor from concentration camps. American companies later claimed they lost control of their subsidiaries, but the financial ties remained. After the war, both demanded and received compensation from the US government for damages to their German factories. The audacity is hard to comprehend. American industry was deeply complicit. The war machine ran on American wheels. Wars aren't just fought with bullets, they're fought with information. The Nazis needed to identify, round up, and murder millions. The answer came from IBM. Through its German subsidiary Die Homag, IBM provided punch card and sorting machines, the supercomputers of their day. Every person in Germany was assigned a number. Their data was encoded onto punch cards. IBM's machines sorted millions of cards, allowing the Nazis to identify Jews with terrifying efficiency. This technology powered the bureaucracy of death. Census data was sorted to create lists, schedule trains to camps, and track prisoners. IBM even serviced the machines on site in the camps. The company's head, Thomas J. Watson, was honored by Hitler. IBM's New York headquarters tightly controlled Die Homag. They knew what their technology was being used for. The business continued because it was incredibly profitable. IBM had a monopoly and charged for every card, every machine, every service call. They put a price tag on genocide. Data-driven death, for a fee. Why did these American corporations get so cozy with the Nazis? One word: money. Nazi Germany was an emerging market, high profits, cheap labor, and few regulations. The moral character of the regime was irrelevant. Standard Oil's partnership with IG Farben was worth tens of millions. Ford and GM dominated the German market, retooling for military production. IBM's punch card machines guaranteed a steady stream of income from the Nazi government. These were not small deals. This was big business. The executives weren't cartoon villains. They were respectable businessmen, justifying their actions as serving shareholders. They argued business transcends politics. But when politics means building concentration camps, just business becomes complicity. These corporations played both sides, selling to allies and Axis alike. For them, war was a business boom. The more the world armed for conflict, the more their profits soared. Capitalism, untethered from ethics, ran wild. After the war, after Nuremberg, surely these companies faced justice, right? Wrong. There was almost no accountability. The story was buried, and the corporate giants went back to being celebrated. How did they get away with it? They were powerful, with immense political and legal influence. They claimed their German subsidiaries were seized by the Nazis, ignoring years of willing collaboration. The Cold War shifted focus from punishment to rebuilding West Germany. Old sins were forgiven for new alliances. Instead of punishment, many companies were rewarded. Ford and GM filed claims for damages to their German factories and won millions from the US government. American taxpayers paid for damage to factories that built war materials for the enemy. The audacity is breathtaking. Executives like Henry Ford and Thomas J. Watson had their legacies sanitized. The history was rewritten to fit the clean, heroic narrative. The uncomfortable details were relegated to footnotes and archives. For decades, the full story was erased from public memory. Accountability was not just denied, it was forgotten. This all happened a long time ago, right? Why should we care now? Because the same patterns are happening today. The names and places have changed, but the story remains. Powerful corporations doing business with authoritarian regimes for profit. The playbook from the 1930s is still in use. The argument that business is separate from politics is still a shield for questionable deals. Look at today's world. Companies building surveillance tech for dictators, fashion brands using forced labor, tech firms censoring for autocrats. The justification is always, if we don't do it, someone else will. The technology has changed. Now it's AI and facial recognition instead of punch cards. But the principle is the same. When a company enables repression, it's complicit. This isn't about being anti-business, it's about accountability. Corporations are powerful political actors, not just economic entities. Their decisions have real-world consequences. The story of Wall Street and the Nazis is a warning. The deals made today could become tomorrow's human rights crises. What's the takeaway? History, especially the uncomfortable parts, matters. Forgetting this story dishonors the victims and makes us vulnerable to repeating mistakes. The silence around corporate collaboration with the Nazis set a dangerous precedent. It says that if you're powerful enough, you can get away with anything. Profits can wash away any sin. We, as citizens and consumers, have power. We must demand transparency and ask hard questions about where our products come from. Support journalism that investigates these corporate webs. Don't be fooled by glossy PR. Look at what companies actually do. This isn't about canceling every company with a dark past. It's about reckoning. When we see corporations making deals with repressive regimes, we need historical context. History gives us a framework for moral judgment. The price of silence is complicity. Ignoring these truths makes us passive participants. If we don't learn from the darkest chapters, we're doomed to see them reprinted in tomorrow's headlines.